Hi, welcome to Papa John's Pantry. Remember to follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, like the channel. If you got questions or comments, you can get a hold of us at papajohnspantry@gmail.com. This is leftovers from how to stretch out your celery. Today we're going to be making cream of potato soup. You are going to need, let me make sure everything's on cam, not quite. Okay. All right, so you're going to need we're going to need 3 stalks of celery, a small medium onion, a little bit more carrots than normal because carrots are a star of cream of potato soup. This is about, we buy a big slab of bacon and then just because it's cheaper, and then we split it up and freeze it. This is the equivalent of half a package of regular bacon that you buy at a grocery store. It is for this recipe, I would recommend getting thick cut bacon. This, one of the things you can do to save time. This is a package of ham that I purchased, and it's about a cup. It's going to be a little bit more than a cup of diced ham. This looks like it's about 1.25 cups. A good handful of ham. You're not going to have too much. You're not going to have too little. But I would, about 1.25 cups of ham. I buy potatoes in a bag instead of loose, so they come in all kinds of size. But this is going to be about 3 cups of potatoes after they're cut. And in case you're wondering how I come up with these measurements, 1, 2, 3 plus the space in the thing. So it's going to be about 3 cups of potatoes. You are going to want 1 quart of heavy whipping cream and 1 of the 32-ounce container of chicken stock. For this recipe, let me just see if everything's. This is just a garbage bowl, so you don't have to keep running to the garbage can. This is what we are going to make the soup in, but separately we're going to dice the potatoes and boil them on the side, and then add the potatoes to the soup once it's already cooked. So let's start prepping these vegetables. All right, the celery, these are already washed. I know they look dry, but that's because I did the celery leaf recipe beforehand. All right, we're going to take the celery. Now we are going to, it's really the celery's kind of, so what size are we going for? That's a good question. These are a little large. This one is perfect. So we are going to have some of these. Others we're going to leave alone. There's no right or wrong size to these. It's just whatever you want to. It's whatever you want to. It's whatever you feel comfortable with. If you don't feel comfortable with your knife, leave them big. If you feel comfortable with your knife, cut them up smaller. So we are going to take these. You're going to line them up. Remember to keep your fingers bent so you're not chopping your fingers off. About quarter-inch pieces. This is going to be what you call like a rough chop. Now I talked to you about frozen vegetables a lot. They do have, they have soup blends, but there's not going to be enough carrots in it, and they have a tendency to put things like okra in the soup, the frozen soup vegetables that would not taste at all good in this. So this is something that you'd want to use fresh vegetables for. So we're going to automatically just throw this into the pan. The pan I'm using for the soup It's a little bit. It's a little bit higher than a Dutch oven pan, but you can easily use a Dutch oven as well if you have one. This is a standard size pan. I recommend you getting a Dutch oven, at least one, because it's a perfect size pan for everything. If you only have one pan and you can't do it separate, boil your potatoes, throw them in a bowl on the side, and they can just hang out. And then wash your pan up, get it dry, and then you can use this. You can use, instead of having two, you can use the pan over again for what we're doing here. These carrots, we are going to peel. I don't always peel carrots, depends what we're using them for. This is where I'm going to use my garbage bowl. I forgot to tell you to cut the ends off the celery. So cut the ends off the celery that we just chopped. We're going to peel the carrots. You don't have to kill yourself with the ends because we're going to be cutting them off anyway. Do this right in your garbage bowl. Garbage bowls make things happy. Part of the reason why I'm out of work is because I get tired fast because of my disease, and we'll talk about that at some other point. But anyway, you can conserve some energy and not keep running across your kitchen is great. I like to gather things once, put them all on the counter so I'm not walking back and forth. This one, there's some damage to the carrots, so we'll cut that off. Alright, so that's the carrots. We are going to cut the ends off. Throw these out. Now, these are, like I said, these are one of the stars of the soup. We're going to leave these somewhat big. Try to find, after you peel, try to find a flat side. If you're not comfortable with your knife, keep peeling it till it's flat, so that way it doesn't roll so much when you make a flat side, so when it cuts, it doesn't roll around on you if you're not comfortable using a knife or it scares you. So we're going to cut these in half. And then these we're just going to leave as is. I'm going to only do them one at a time. I'll do them two at a time. And this is, if you're not comfortable with a knife, do them one at a time. And these are just going to use about 1/4 inch again. Like I said, these are big because these are a star of the soup. And if I'm going fast, I'm going fast. You go as fast as whatever makes you comfortable. This recipe is going to take about half an hour time-wise for this. So this is something you might need to plan ahead for some time. But from start to finish, it should take about half an hour. We're adding these right to the pan with the celery. You want these to roughly be the same size so they all cook together at the same time. So this onion is going to make it's going to be about 3/4 of a cup onion when I'm done with it. For those of you that don't feel comfortable just winging it, this will be 3/4 of a cup onion when I'm done with it. This I'm going to dice. We had a video on how to cut an onion. This one I am doing that with. Skin. Alright, didn't know if there is a brown spot on the onion or not. That's throwing stuff all over the place. Alright, this too, add right to the pan. Now you can cube up your own ham if you have like a ham steak or whatever, but you're gonna want a diced ham, like I said, is about 1.25 cups. We're going to throw this right into the pan, as is. It's vacuum sealed, so there's minimal juice, so I'm not worried about draining it. Just throwing that package into my garbage bowl. These potatoes, obviously, it's cream potato soup, so these are the star. We're just gonna. You want these pieces a little bit smaller than a dice, about the same. Actually, not smaller. I'm sorry. You want these about the size of a dice, a gaming dice. That's the size you're aiming for to chop with these. You want to try to cut these all to the same size so that they all, they cook at the same time. These potatoes are. You'll see me doing. Now, yes, I am leaving the skins on, but I leave the skins on just about everything with potatoes because that's where all the healthy stuff is. If you don't like potato skins, you can peel these and do exactly what I'm doing. If I like them when they add color to. That's where most of the potato flavor is. For this recipe, I am using white potatoes because white potatoes they don't scream potato. You could use this baking. Yeah, you just want. I would use white potatoes for this, or if you got Idaho potatoes, that's fine. I would not use baking potatoes when they are a little bit more expensive. They're kind of blah for this. And don't use the purple or the small red ones because those have a completely different taste and texture to them altogether, and they're not going to make a good soup. Plus, the little potatoes like that, they mush up, and you want to bite into these. You don't want a mushed up soup. Soups, I love making soups. They're probably my favorite thing to make. Why? I don't know. Everyone's got a favorite. I like making soups. We'll make hash browns someday, or home fries, whatever. Everyone's idea of hash browns is different. So these are about, you go to Denny's or somewhere, get your skillet-sized potatoes. Your skillet potatoes, this is the size we're chopping them up to, about the size of a dice. We're putting these in a separate pan. We're doing all the prep, getting it all out of the way so we're not running back and forth to the cutting board. These, like I said, if you only have one Dutch oven, get your potatoes out of the way, boil them. You'll know that you're done. You can take one out. Your fork should just blow on it. It's going to be boiling. Obviously, it's hot. You want them to be just when you bite into the potato, or if you have a fork, you want just a little bit of resistance. And if you bite it, you don't want it to be soft, and you don't want it to be hard. It'll be done when you can easily bite through it. This bacon is frozen, and that is so it's easier to cut. Like I said, this would be about a half of a pack of regular thick cut bacon. So this was one that was one sheet of bacon from the big pack we bought. So we are going to carefully take our knife, and and if you buy fresh bacon, freeze it for this recipe so it's easier to cut. Because cutting thawed out bacon, even frozen, it's still a bit of a pain. But cutting thawed out bacon it doesn't cut well. It makes a messier cutting board. It just smears back and forth because bacon's it's just fat. So all right, we're gonna put this in a pan, and you're gonna want about, I have a dasher of oil on my counter. If you don't, you don't. We're gonna use about a tablespoon of oil in the bottom of the pan just to get things started. Okay, I'm gonna shut the video off just to move it so you can see the cooking part. So we'll be back in a sec. All right, welcome back. So we're over here on the stove. How does that? Do I need to turn the light on? Nah, that's fine. Okay, so we are going to turn this on low. Like I said, I don't pretend to be perfect, and I get forgetful. So that is that. We are going to cook this down because I'm going to be turning you off. This will take a little bit. This is going to be the most time. Well, after the vegetable prep, this is going to be the second most time consuming part. We are going to cook this down until the bacon is cooked, until the bacon's brown. So this will take about 12 minutes to cook about. So that's part of it. I'm gonna now I have the ability to. I have the 2 pans. I'm gonna get the potatoes started. To boil the potatoes, you're gonna cover them with just enough water till all the potatoes are covered. All right. I'm gonna turn the camera off just to save your time. You'll want to stay here. This is something, if you have a wooden spoon, you'll just stir this every now and again with a wooden spoon, but do this nice and slow on a low flame. Okay? See you in a minute. So just checking in with you. Bacon's finally starting to cook. Just do it nice and slow. If you find that the bottom of your pan is starting to darken brown, turn it down. You get your flame on too high. What have I been up to in the meantime? I washed up the dishes from chopping and stuff, and that is that. You can multitask while you're in here, and if you can't, just keep watching your pan and save the dishes for later. Just as a side note, something you can make this recipe 10 different times and it might taste different each time, and that's part of the joy in cooking is you can make the same things and they'll taste different. Why? Because maybe one time you used white potatoes and then the next time you used Idaho potatoes. Maybe the ham we bought, like I bought that package of cubed ham for this. Maybe that was a honey ham. Next time maybe I buy it, or I have ham in the freezer and I cut it myself, and it's a maple smoked ham. Same thing with the bacon. You know, maybe this is applewood smoked bacon. Maybe the bacon you picked up was a maple smoked bacon or a hickory bacon. I mean, there's every little change will like that. Every subtle little change will change the recipe, and you could spend the rest of your life just switching out potatoes, ham, and bacon, and this will taste a little different every time. I mean, it's still going to be cream and potato soup, but that's part of the fun. And maybe you find your absolute favorite, and maybe you just keep switching it up. So that's part of the fun of the adventure. Is every time is a different taste. Well, I'll turn this back on once the bacon's fully cooked. Boo! I screwed up. I am so sorry. I thought I turned my camera on. Okay, so what I have done is I added 1 teaspoon of chopped garlic and 1 cup of flour. I stirred it and we let it cook for 30 seconds. It was clumpy. We held onto the pan with an oven mitt. We added garlic. We added 1 cup of flour, and then we added our 1 container of chicken stock. The potatoes are just about done because the fork is easily going through them. Yep, these are all set. So I'm going to turn these off. I'm going to put these in the sink and drain them into a colander and just let them hang out in the colander until we need them. Again, I apologize. I thought the camera was rolling. I'm still new at this whole thing. Forgive me. You didn't miss much. All I did was added a teaspoon of garlic to this. 1 cup of flour. We stirred it. We let it, just the flour and the garlic cook for 30 seconds. We increased the flame just a smidge bit to medium, and added the chicken stock, and we're waiting for this to boil now. Potatoes are drained. I'll see you once this starts to boil. That's how the carrots cook. Alright, this is starting to boil away. I'm going to turn the flame back down to low. This is, we're going to keep simmering this on low for about, we're going to do this for 4 minutes. That way the bacon, I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, he didn't cook the bacon all the way. Well, you don't want crispy bacon in this. It's almost more of a lunch meat. This is how the bacon and the carrots will fully cook. As you see, that cup of flour we added made this nice and thick. We're going to let this 4 minutes. Okay? And then we are going to add that quart of cream. We're going to add the potatoes to this, and this is going to be done. So I'm going to turn this off so you're not watching the pan empty for 4 minutes. Hello, it's been 4 minutes. I figured out what happened. I got 1 phone call, which is why the video stopped recording. So I apologize about that again. I will have to set my ringtone on. I'll turn my ringtone on in case who gets phone calls anymore. But so I get for using the camera and the phone together. I am just trying one of these carrots to make sure they're fully cooked. And that is good. So, the flame's still on low. We haven't touched the thing. So yeah, we're learning together. Sorry about the missing the flour and the garlic part, but that's how much we are. And you saw me when I tried the potato. I put it back in the pan because I'm cooking for my family. Now, if you're cooking for guests or you think that's gross, that potato I tried, just throw it in the garbage instead of throwing it back in the pan. So potatoes are back in. I am adding this whole quart of heavy cream to this. was actually, that was whipping cream, heavy cream. They both have just a different fat content in it. That's 36% butter fat. So that was whipping cream, not heavy cream. We're going to let this come to a boil. I am going to add, from a previous thing I had about chopping celery, I am going to add the diced celery leaves to this. You could easily throw in 3 tablespoons of parsley right now, just to give it some color. Hopefully that shows up good on camera. We're going to bring this to a boil, which will take a couple of minutes, and it is done. All right, I'll see you once this is boiling. All right, so this is starting to boil. So try some. If you don't want to put your mouth in the thing, try it, get a different spoon, try it, get a different spoon. I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of salt to this. Now for you, you might think this is good, just the way it is. A variable will be how salty the ham and the bacon is. So for you that are watching your salt intake, don't add the salt. It might be perfect for you. In fact, you know what? I'm just going to add 1 and see how this is. Because this is just about there. Salt helps bring out the flavor, which is why soup is packed full of salt, because it is. I'm glad I only added 1, because this is perfect. I'm turning this off. This is delicious. So, the salt, that's up to you. There's a couple variables. The salt, you want to keep this low sodium, keep it low sodium. You want to add the salt for flavor, add the salt for flavor. I used kosher salt because it is, if you can see, you might not be, can you see? There you go. It is a very coarse grain, so you use less of it than traditional table salt. Like I said, like recipe like this, you can cook this 100 different times and make it taste 100 different ways. Do it to how you like. The heavy cream versus the whipping cream, that's another variable to make it taste a smidge bit different. You could also use vitamin D milk, because that's got a lot of fat in it. However, I would not use skim 1 or 2% milk, because that would, and I would not use the vitamin D milk either, but you could. You have to be careful, because the milks versus the creams will have a higher tendency to separate. So, you don't want, it'll curdle as it boils and that, as opposed to the creams that it keeps its consistency. Because like this, with the heavy cream, I'm going to put this in a crock pot and keep it on the warm setting for later, because right now it's only 11 o'clock in the morning where I am. You could put this in the fridge. You could even freeze this, since we use the whipping cream. Only thing is, when you thaw it out, let it thaw out completely. Don't, before you heat it back up, don't heat it up frozen in like your microwave. But that's that. We'll do the old cooks thing. We'll get bring this right up to the camera. Just wiping the bowl off. And boom. There you go. Cream and potato soup. Thanks for watching.